somewhere.
Okay.
Let's see. Like I said, it's a 45-second play, so I'm gonna take a little bit to see what you see. I should do actually, so that you can just put this more. I think that's right. Actually. Oh, it says one viewer. Okay, yeah. Hey, let me put on my headphones. See if I can hear you. Okay. You got him on? Yeah, I can hear. I mean, like I said, it's a... Okay. Testing, testing. So, stop the broadcast now. You can, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? There you go. See if that's muted or not. I think. Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar on planning and testing for a Costpoint 7 upgrade. We would like to thank everyone who has joined us today, and we hope that each of you take away something useful from today's session. My name is LJ DeStefano, and I'm a systems consultant for the Business Systems Group here at Corporate Results Incorporated. We're located in Herndon, Virginia, and we have a team of individuals here that have many years of experience in different areas. Within the Business Systems Group, we have employees that specialize in migrating to Costpoint 7 from GCS and Vision, upgrading to Costpoint 7, Deltek Time and Expense, Cognos Enterprise Reporting, system training, as well as several different areas. We are also a partner with Deltek. Some of our other services here at CRI include back office solutions, such as accounting and finance, payroll, human resources, and contracts. My contact information is listed on the last slide, so if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email or interrupt us at any time. Okay, the agenda for today includes several different areas that touch on key focus points within the upgrade to Costpoint 7. First, we'll talk about pre-planning activities, or what you need to consider before upgrading. We also discuss project planning, who do you want involved in the upgrade, and how do you want them involved. Also dates, time frames, those types of questions. We also briefly touch on the Costpoint 7 upgrade, the technical aspect, the hardware, software, and the accessibility. We'll then cover functional testing. That's the basic applicational testing of the product. We'll touch on test cases and scenarios, as well as regression testing. Those are going to be the full processes within Costpoint 7, such as payroll and closes. Then we'll touch on go-live preparation in terms of ideal cutover times, the time frame you can expect, and communication, as well as go-live and go-live support. So that would be your final reconciliation and post-go-live support. And then, as with every project we do here at CRI, we have a lessons learned. So those will be your takeaways and those type of discussions from the project plan. So first we'll touch on pre-planning activities. We'll talk about to change or not to change, and as well as business rule analysis. So getting into to change or not to change. Within pre-planning, we usually focus on the topic of changing. So we ask the client what is working for them and what isn't working for them. An upgrade, given the appropriate time frame, can be a perfect opportunity for necessary configuration changes. Some of the recommendation of changes could include pillar re-engineering. So that could be your project structure, your chart of accounts, and your orgs. We see a lot of clients change something that wasn't working in Costpoint 6, Service Pack 2, versus something that they can use moving forward within Costpoint 7. There's also other codes such as employee codes, GLCs and PLCs, vendor ID formats, and customer formats. Those types of re-engineering or code processing can all be cleaned up or modified at this time. There's also opportunity for other areas to be cleaned up, such as duplicate employees and vendors. If you don't have the correct controls within Costpoint, you can have multiple employees and vendors, and it can get a pretty sloppy area. So a lot of clients take this time to consolidate vendors and employees, or just do typical data process cleanup work when they would be upgrading to Costpoint 7. Other areas include process re-engineering. So that could be something that you would take the new functionality of Costpoint 7 into consideration. So, for instance, one of the things that we just did was Akron and WAF billing for a client. They were using all offline Akrons, and they were using the WAF through the website. And within Costpoint 7, it has the functionality to automate that process. So that's something that can be re-engineered when you're talking about the question of change. We also have a webinar, I believe it's May 20th, that is specific to the Akron and WAF billing. So that will walk you through the process on how to set that up and the screens and navigation and everything associated with those two items. Next up, we have a business rule analysis. During a typical upgrade, we always perform a business rule analysis. During this analysis, we identify a process that could be enhanced or automated. An example of one is something that we call the special project authorization. Basically, this was a authorization for a project that was considered at risk, and it was used to be a paper trail that would flow outside of Costpoint and never come within Costpoint, and it was a slow process, typically through email, and took anywhere from a week to 2 weeks to get to all the right individuals in terms of if they were out or didn't get through the email fast enough. So what we did first is we documented the as-is process. We interviewed all the personnel involved in the process, and we flowcharted the process to see who has sent the form to who, and if they weren't available, who would they send that form to. So we documented the as-is procedure there, and then we designed the to-be. So we gathered the requirements in terms of if Costpoint could handle this functionality, and we evaluated the software functionality in a test environment, and basically played each other's roles in terms of how that person would log into Costpoint and approve that project for that specific authorization. And then we documented the steps to implement. So we took that paper process and we made it automated within the workflow aspect of Costpoint. You can basically designate roles in terms of who personnel's backup is, and they'll get a notification that they need to go in and improve something. If they don't do it in a certain matter of days or a certain time frame, that role will be designated to their backup. So that's a type of example of a business rule analysis that we've recently done for a client. We're going to start getting into the real bulk of the upgrade here. As with any project, you're going to want to have a project plan. We see several different types of project plans for clients. Some of them don't want any project planning. They all have that in-house, whereas other clients prefer you to walk them through step by step and really like the hands-on detail that we can provide there. So first up, we'll just go over the basic overall project plan. We'll touch on the technical aspect of hosting and your environments and servers and outsourcing, and then we'll get into the work breakdown structure. This is one of the most important parts of the project plan. I would actually say it would probably be the most important part in terms of the upgrade, because it includes the scheduling and resource planning. If you don't schedule out far enough in advance and have the right personnel on board, your project plan can really go downhill quickly. We'll then talk about the communications that are needed for the project plan, as well as training and testing of the users. Within the technical plan, we want the client to think about what type of CP7 environment is right for them, whether they have production and test environments, or just a production environment, or if they want to have both when they go to Costpoint 7. We typically recommend to have a production and test environment. The test environment is good for trying things out and ensuring proper results before switching to production for some of the things that you haven't used before or you would be considering within the production environment. We also talk about hosting. So will you be hosting, or will you have the capability in-house for the technical plan? Just something to consider there, as well as considering outsourcing the upgrade if you want to have someone that's done it before. they obviously know the steps, and they'll get you to where you need to be a little bit faster than if you haven't outsourced the upgrade. And there's also developing system architecture. Some things to consider for Costpoint 7 are that it requires new servers. There's 64-bit machines, operating systems, and the database. There's also the new functionality of the virtual servers, or Deltic and the cloud. And that covers basically all the technical plan that we'll get into today. Getting back to the work breakdown structure, or the WBS/scheduling. It's a very important planning activity that needs to be done when upgrading. We typically recommend using Microsoft Project. That gives you a good basis on lining out your breakdown structure, or it can also be completed in Excel. The main idea here is to estimate the time required to complete each of the WBS items within the package. So you line out what your work breakdown structure is, and then you give specific time frames as well as resources to that work breakdown structure. It's important to remember to be realistic about the time it takes to do the work. If you haven't done it before, we can recommend some basic goals, and it's also important to build some slack into the schedule for the unknown. As with every project, you're going to run into some problems, and if your whole project plan is based on certain dates and you haven't built in any slack, every mistake that is a few days late will compound within every different area to really put you behind in terms of getting the work done. Another important area is to choose the right people. This is important because you don't want to have too many people that you go off in different areas, but you also want to have the right people and a good mix of people to really figure out and go through the work breakdown structure. So make sure it's properly staffed. The communication plan, just in terms of the project overall, you got to think about how you're going to communicate to all the parties involved. Do you need regular meetings, executive briefings, project status updates? Do you want all of them? Do you not need them? It's just something to consider for the upgrade itself. Several of the media outlets that we use can consist of the SharePoint site. SharePoint is a good place to have documentation control. So we put a lot of our files here and we check them in and out. It tells you who's in the file and the last time that they used it. You can have different versions as well. So it's a good place to store your documentation for the upgrade. We also used in Microsoft just the calendar. You can actually export your WBS schedule into the calendar and create a group, so that group can access the calendar and see if you're on schedule, behind schedule, what's coming up that week, what activities they need to be a part of, what they should be doing. It's a good resource for everyone involved during the project. We also use frequently asked questions. We basically set up a forum so that the questions can roll into the forum, and as you'll find out during this time, a lot of the questions are repetitive. So instead of fielding tens of emails or 20 emails, we'll set up a forum. That way, before an employee asks a question regarding a specific area, someone else might have already asked that. So it's a good place to store information, and just a quick resource there. And next up, we have putting articles in company periodicals. So what we mean by that is just your company newsletters or your website, how you're communicating the message on the project status itself. And then announcing cutover dates. Are there going to be specific groups of people that receive that group email for cutover dates, or how that message is going to be portrayed, and just any type of communication there throughout the project. Okay, next up we have the training plan. So the first question here is who gets trained? You need to decide the best way to train. Are we training just the testers first? Are the testers training the users? Do we have specific people testing the data and other people learning from them? There's just different types of scenarios here that clients usually run into in terms of how the training gets done and who's performing the training. Should we outsource the training? CRI has in-house or online training for each module within Costpoint. We're a good resource for any of the Costpoint training. Within the training mechanisms, we offer hands-on learning. So if you're a classroom type of learning, you walk through step by step. You could have WebEx training, so that's usually pretty quick meetings in terms of you can follow along, or the instructor will show you, and you'll do it later, or just basically you'll be seeing their screen and they'll be walking you through how it's done, and you can kind of design your WebEx training around that concept. There's also lunch and learn concepts. So we've worked with clients before that on Mondays and Fridays we'll reserve a conference room. They'll grab lunch and we'll conduct the training. Usually the training repeats itself on Mondays or Fridays, so depending on people's schedule, they'll hop in one on Monday, and if they can't make it Monday, they'll come Friday. If they didn't understand Monday for some reason, they can attend both, or run in and out. So it's a pretty easy training mechanism there. We also have some videos. We're in the process of conducting several Costpoint videos in terms of the functionality there. They're available in our video training library, as well as training guides. Those would just be the notes that you would need to do any of the Costpoint functionality. So overall, that's the basis of the training plan. Up next, we have the testing plan. After you've trained the necessary individuals within Costpoint, it's time to finally start testing. This is a key area before going live. You want to make sure that all of your data comes over valid. So we recommend doing this for all current modules within the system, as well as other systems. So a typical system that would be used within Costpoint would be Cognos Enterprise Reporting. So we recommend testing all those reports, as well as all the information from Costpoint. An example of something that we see a lot is that the parameter screens don't convert over in the Costpoint 7 upgrade. So you'll have to specifically go in and enter your Costpoint 6.2 screens into Costpoint 7 in terms of viewing reports and queries and everything that would be saved there. There's also new models and functionality. For example, there's a work schedule that's now in Costpoint to accommodate salary proration. So you need to be aware of exactly what you're looking at within the testing and how it works now compared to how it worked before. Another question we ask is, who are the testers? Are they just the end users? Are they subject matter experts? Do you have a group of 4 testers that test most of the accounting and the projects, or do you have 1 or 2 subject matter experts that fund everything? So there's definitely a variation of how the testing could be conducted. In every test case scenario, we perform an A to Z process. So we have steps. Some of them are short, some of them are long, but we want to make sure that that process that was conducted in Costpoint 6.2 now comes over into Costpoint 7. So we have an A to Z process and a sign-off that ensures the functionality is working there. In terms of testing environments, do you want to do it on your own? Do you want to have a centralized location, meeting rooms, or specifically at someone's desk? When and where? Do you have? Those are all types of questions that you should plan ahead for in terms of the Costpoint 7 upgrade. We've seen some companies use like Wednesdays and Fridays, and they'll reserve a conference room from just say 2 to 5 in the afternoon, and they'll have all their testers come there to that location, and that's standard. And every week they'll come there and they'll test. So no matter what their schedule looks like, they'll come to that room and they'll test for those 6 hours a week. It's a good way to ensure that everything is on track and you don't fall behind. There's also test case preparation. How are you going to test? What will the process be? In the next slide, we'll show you a test case scenario that we've prepared. It's just a mock-up one. It's just 1 page, but typically our test case scenarios are anywhere from 4 to 8 pages. It just walks you through step by step on how Costpoint is now working and what typical activities you would perform within the modules of Costpoint. Getting back to the technical upgrade, this is just something that would need to be done. You'll evaluate your current hardware against the to-be network diagram. You'll evaluate your vendors. You'll order additional hardware. You'll configure it. You'll also install the software and confirm accessibility. So that's something that also needs to be done. In terms of the testing, we're going to go into functional testing and regression/integrated testing. So for functional testing, it's typically test cases and scripts are used to perform the testing. This is important because it's new in Costpoint. Once again, we recommend that all current modules be tested from start to finish, the A to Z process. And with functional testing, we're basically looking at small sample sizes. So for AP vouchers, we'll test 10 to 20 of them, but we want to make sure that we have a good variety of those AP vouchers so we can cover our basis for going live. So we'll put in different scenarios there, as well as testing new modules and new functionality. So like I said earlier, with the salary probation for new hires or terminated employees, that's something that is a functional test that we conduct here. Also with the functional testing, we look at issues logs. So we keep an issues log for all functional testing that our testers will go in, they'll put their name, what module they're in, what date it was, and basically what the issue was. So it's a good centralized location for all of the errors to be documented, and we can track the errors as we go. We can use it as a feedback forum. So if someone gets an error that they can't continue, we can go in and say, please do it this way instead, save the record this way, or try this. That way it's documented, and that way others might be able to use that issue log in terms of finding out their errors themselves. And again, with functional testing, we want to make sure that all of the testing has been reviewed. So not only is one person in charge or several people in charge of doing the actual testing, but we want to make sure that that testing is reviewed and signed off on before committing to something like going live. This was the test case I was talking about before. Basically, on each of our test cases, we'll have who wrote the test case, whatever system it is. So we have them for time and expense and Cognos Enterprise reporting as well. We'll have the module within Costpoint here, and then a brief description on what you're actually doing for that test case. So this is our accounts receivable test case. Obviously, it is condensed to 1 page, and there's probably about 20 steps. We've only listed 3 here. So the steps are listed here. The type of testing that's being done is listed in the second column. The third column is what the actual test is. So that is where the tester will follow in terms of the step downward. The expected result, so this is what the author of the test case would expect the result to be for that specific step. And then this is where under actual the tester would put their results. So for instance, step 1 is a manual step of to go to customers, manage customers, and enter one new customer. The expected result is to enter the record without an error. If the person testing gets an error, they would put I've received an error here, and then under pass fail, they'll put an F for fail. They'll put the date and then their initials or their name here. So that way we know that that tester was not able to enter a new customer. There's just different scenarios here, so you could get all the way through. You could have the first 15 pass, and then you'd have one fail, and that test case wouldn't be able to be signed off on and approved, which occurs down here. We'll have approvals, and then pass, fail, and why it failed. So it's a good place to document all of your testing and ensure that you're following the necessary process to go through the testing. Up next, we have regression and integrated testing. So once again, it uses test cases and scripts to perform the testing. All modules should be tested from A to Z. Here we focus on really upstream and downstream systems. So like I said earlier, Costpoint Enterprise Reporting is a good upstream system because that sits on top of the database and pulls the data from there, as well as Deltek Time and Expense. So that will be your timesheets coming into Costpoint. Here we typically use larger sample sizes, so we'll test a whole payroll cycle, for instance, to ensure that when we do the timesheets and the payroll, that everything flows smoothly. Here we can really reconcile our results against our 6.2 database, so we ensure that the data is valid. And again, we look at issues logs and that all the testing is reviewed. So just different type of testing that's done here, but you have both aspects, so it's important to really document and review both these types of testing. Next up, we have Go Live. We'll talk about Go Live preparation and Go Live support. In terms of Go Live preparation, we want to prepare a cutover plan. We want to ask them who do you need and when do you need them. So it could be a weekend. It could be you shut down the 6.2 database on Friday morning and it won't be available till Monday. You want to really consider all the processes when choosing this time. Typically, for most clients, we'll choose an end of timesheet cycle. That way payroll has already been processed and you have a good head start on the next payroll and billing cycle. You want to consider your resource availability. Who do we need? You don't want to have too many people in the room, but you also need to have enough people to really go live efficiently. And a key thing to remember here is that this is a database upgrade. So your tables have been added and they've been changed. So it's a really if you've done your testing efficiently, you should be in a good area going into this Go Live preparation. So that's why the testing comes into consideration here. And you want to have efficient communications. So we talked about that earlier. Just reaching out to everyone, letting them know that the system is going to be down from Friday to Monday or whatever the scenario is. And you want to distribute your guides and reference materials. Just get them ready to go live. Go Live support. There's different, avenues of going about this support. For help desk functions, we've seen on-site support. You've seen just email support, phone support, and WebEx support. Those are all different venues on how you want to go about supporting Costpoint. So we've seen, help desk tickets, or, I receive phone calls, or I'll do WebEx meetings if people are having trouble. It's just a typical, you know, upgrade, I guess, errors that, or, little things that you find that need to be corrected after going live. As with every upgrade, you're going to want to expect some issues. It's key because no matter how much testing and planning that you've done, there will always be something that will happen. So that's important to remember in terms of your resources post go live. And finally, we have a lessons learned. With every project, it's a good idea to do lessons learned. You can interview the personnel that you had testing and trained, and see how they're making out. You can do surveys in terms of what you could do better. You can do a town hall discussion. Typically a good idea to do, a few weeks after the upgrade, just to see where you're at. Or you could just do an email chain to talk about your lessons learned. And then your final thing would just be to prepare a report to management and the project team, basically a debrief of the project, what went wrong, and what went right. So just a good idea on lessons learned there. If you have any questions, you can refer them to my email, which is ljdestefano@cri4results.com. I have my contact phone number there, and we invite you to join us next time for basic CER training, which will occur on Tuesday, May 13th at 2:30. You can register through our website at www.cri4results.com, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.